All right. Welcome back. It's the fan in the van here on lovely YouTube. Haven't done a video in a while. Been doing more of the podcast thing, so I figured I'd do a video today. I just got out of the gym. Of course, we had to rock Connor today because, as you know, he caught the COVID. So speedy recovery to the Terminator, James Conner. Uh, with that being said, listen, if you're a Ravens fan or a Browns fan, or just a fan in general who doesn't know anything about anything, do me a favor and shut up. All on Twitter, you got to hear, oh, the guy's been cancer free for 4 years. His immune system's fine. Listen, no, it's not. Okay, you're not a doctor. If you want to be a doctor, listen, go buy a friggin' medical book at your local fucking library. All right. Um, I wake up this morning and you find out that the Saints are getting fined for a maskless celebration. So now at 500,000, lost a draft pick for that. Expect the Broncos to get fined because now they're playing with no quarterback. And you find out later on last night that Jeff Driscoll had caught it, and then their three quarterbacks are around him without a mask on. All right, stupidity, right? But the Ravens one takes the cake for a game that gets moved twice now and yet no punishment. So again, if you listen to the podcast, you already know where this is going. Roger Goodell, you horse's ass piece of shit. Where's that punishment? Because now, if this game gets moved again to week 18, now because we're going to have to make a week to make up games, I'm sorry, this fine gets far worse. It's far worse now. I'm taking 3 draft picks away. I'm making it a $5 million fine now. Because here you have all these other teams adhering to the protocol, and the Ravens are getting rewarded for it. And you could watch this and say, oh, here we go. This is where he's going to friggin' whine and cry. The Steelers are getting screwed. It's fact. And you all see it. Whether you watch the NFL Network or you're watching ESPN or you're watching Fox Sports News or NBC Sports, whatever it is, it's there for all of you to see. Okay? And you say, oh, well, you got 3, 4 guys on it, but every day you're finding out that there's 5 more Ravens players being added to it. They're up to like 20 players now on it. Come on. Come on. Are you for real here? And then, not only that, but in the Broncos situation, you're going to make them play with no quarterback now? So we could move the Ravens game. And then we were able to move the Titans game, right, to week 8 when we get screwed out of our originally scheduled bye week. All right? So that all gets moved, but now we can't move a game that has no quarterback. So now you're starting a guy who's on the practice squad who was a college quarterback, but mainly plays wide receiver now. Okay, because that makes sense. Green Bay, San Francisco, the Thursday night game a few weeks back, was in the same exact scenario, depleted from COVID, right? Green Bay was down to like 2 running backs. They had like 3 or 4 guys on COVID because of it. The Niners had like 6, 7 guys on COVID. That game doesn't get moved. But the Ravens somehow, the strength and conditioning coach, and everybody else is walking around carelessly, not caring about protocol. And here we go. Let's reward them with not only moving the game from Thanksgiving to Sunday, but then when Lamar gets it, oh, let's move it from Sunday to Tuesday. Meanwhile, you have a quarterback that can play. So this game could have been played today. It could have been played on Thanksgiving. If you really sit there as a fan and you think the NFL really cares about player safety, they make it an illusion for you to believe it. Just like they do to the players. They make it an illusion. It's a smoke and mirror show. The only reason why they come out and they do the certain things they do and say the certain things they say is they gotta go through all the motions. Okay, they gotta go through all the motions here. Um, all they care about is protecting the image of the NFL. Okay, player safety doesn't really matter to them at the end of the day. What matters is the NFL's image. Okay, and yeah, the NFL does good things like they donate to social injustice reform and equality and all that. And listen, and that's all well and good. That's all well and good. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about what's going on through this corona pandemic and how the NFL since the off season hasn't gotten it right. Okay, if you listen to the podcast, you already know what I'm going to say. It's like they just whipped together a quick Sunday dinner because you forgot to take the meat out. They whipped up some BS protocol. The players said, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah, yeah, this looks great," and on they went with it. Okay. Um, Goodell has no control of this thing, and he just decides to play the authority figure when it suits him best. Um, First off, that Saint Buccaneer game was last Sunday, right? A week later, the punishment comes out. When's the Ravens punishment coming out? When's that coming out? Because this is a daily thing that's going on here. And then I gotta hear all the Steeler haters on Twitter say, well, where's the Steelers fine? Um, we didn't break protocol, asshole. Steeler organization didn't break protocol. You think a coach like Mike Tomlin is going to allow that to happen while Harbaugh over there is not taking accountability? And again, if you don't think Harbaugh knew that the strength and conditioning coach was walking around maskless and not following the protocol, you have another thing coming because he knew. You're around your team throughout the whole practice. You knew. So where's the accountability there? Where's his fine? Where's his punishment? Because again, if this was the Steeler organization creating all this fiasco, you'd all be clamoring for fines, suspensions, firings, sale of the team, disband the Steelers from the NFL, blah, 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 whatever else you haters could possibly come up with. Bottom line is this game could have been played. This game's not being played for one reason and one reason only. Because right now the Ravens are out of playoff contention, right? And they know they can't win with RG3. But guess what? You couldn't win with Lamar either. So, whether this game gets played Tuesday or Week 18, expect the same result. Okay? The fact that you don't move the Broncos-Saints game is beyond me. A game that has no quarterback now. And the NFL's reasoning is, well, you need to adapt to each situation. Okay. So if that's the case in NFL, your argument now is about to fall on its own face here. Because you're telling Denver they have to adapt. But what about Baltimore? What about Baltimore? You don't have Lamar. You have to adapt with RG3. You have a legitimate backup quarterback. So you have to adapt. So again, NFL, why is this game moved? Why? You don't hear me bitching that the game should be moved because Connor got COVID. No. Listen, I told you all when this all started. Okay? I told people this before I decided to do podcasts and videos. I said everybody within the NFL at some point is going to contract it. Okay? At some point. Even in Arizona, Larry Fitzgerald, one of the most liked wide receivers throughout the whole league, got it. Okay? He hasn't missed a game since like 2014 when he tore his MCL or sprained it, whatever injury it was, right? And now he's got to sit out today's game, which is heartbreaking if you're Larry Fitzgerald and if you're a Cardinals fan and you're a fan of Larry Fitzgerald in general, right? Okay? But that game's still being played. The Denver Saints game. Again, if you moved the Titans Steeler game to Week 8, you moved the Ravens Steeler game twice. NFL, you can't just pick and choose when you're going to do this. Roger Goodell, you can't pick and choose when you're going to enforce the rules and not enforce the rules. Because if you're going to move one game, then you got to move every game that's impacted by it then. Okay? And you're going to have to do that by putting them on neutral days where these teams have off and can get the game in. Okay? Use the example of Major League Baseball. Okay? You think when Aaron Judge gets injured, the Yankees say, oh, we got to move all these games now because Aaron Judge is hurt? No. You know what they do? They bring somebody up from the minor league to play, right? That's why the NFL has a practice squad. You call the next guy up. You have to sign him to your 53-man roster, and then you can put him back down to the practice squad when the game's over. Oh no, but no, because Baltimore and Lamar Jackson now are the team we have to protect. Okay, because for you assholes in the media that in the offseason wanted to sit there and say Ben has to dethrone Lamar Jackson. Oh, I'm sorry. When did Ben ever lose the throne? Remind me when that happened. So a guy who's been in the league for 3 years now is 100 times better than Roethlisberger. Yet a guy who's, 15 years younger than Roethlisberger is playing worse than Roethlisberger? Because Roethlisberger's playing 100 times better than Baker, Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. And then you got Chris Sims, who doesn't even put him in the top 10. But let's put Ryan Tannehill in the top 10 of quarterbacks. Chris Sims isn't. Couldn't hack it in the NFL, and you can't hack it at doing rankings either. You're better off just bagging groceries at friggin' Stop and Shop from 6 to 11 in the morning is what you're better off of doing. Why don't you go down the tomato sauce aisle and rank fucking tomato sauces or something. And then you got the PFF rankings, which is just another abysmal thing here. Oh, let's put the Saints 2. The Saints are not number 2. The Saints are in the top 10, but they're not number 2. But again, if you really think that Roger Goodell has a handle on this whole pandemic and the whole coronavirus throughout the NFL, allow me to tell you, he does not. He does not have these players' interests at heart. Because if he did, he'd be out there daily saying, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're enforcing, and then actually do. Listen, you could speak all the words you want, but it's your actions that are going to speak louder. And Goodell's actions have spoken nothing because there's no volume to it. Because he hasn't done anything. Other than, okay, the Titans get fined $300,000. Ooh, big fine there. Ooh, okay, and then you got the Raiders who were fined $500,000, lost of a draft pick, and Gruden got fined like 150 to 250 for violating the mask policy again. And now you got the Saints getting fined before the Ravens, mind you, for a maskless celebration. I guess then you got to fine every team because they've been doing it maskless since week 1. So you're going to take every 6th-round pick away from every team in the league, even my team included? Are you going to do that, Goodell? Because again, why are we protecting the Baltimore Ravens here? This, and I explained it to a Ravens fan the other day. I said the reason why your team's getting protected is because of the implications this game has. The implications are if Baltimore loses, they don't have a shot at winning the AFC North anyway. Okay, let's just get that off the table right now. But then they really have no shot at making a playoff because they would be in the same scenario the Steelers were last year, where you'd have to have 50 things go right just to get in. Okay, and the NFL doesn't want that. Well, then here's the thing: if the NFL didn't want that, then Baltimore should have won the games it's played. Okay, you should have been able to beat Tennessee. You should have been able to beat the Steelers when you first played them. Then you should be winning the games that you're scheduled to play. Okay, and for those who want to keep saying it's a cupcake schedule, listen, it's not a cupcake schedule. No schedule is easy. Okay, again, it's any given Sunday and any team can win at any point. Case in point, today's a prime example. I'm going to use the Jets-Dolphins as an example. Jets decide they're going to start Sam Darnold, right? Which, beyond me, I don't know why. I don't know why, because all the reports I keep hearing is they're doing away with him at the end of the year, possibly try to trade him, from what I'm hearing, from some sources. But then again, we got to wait and see what happens. If you're a Jets fan, do you want this win today, or do you want the number 1 pick? It's a legitimate question. Do you want the number 1 pick, or do you want to go 2-14 and then have Jacksonville get the number 1 pick, and they get Trevor Lawrence? See, everyone keeps saying, and myself included, that Trevor doesn't want to come to New York. He doesn't want to play for the Jets. Even he's come out and said it. But here's the thing: if you're a Jets fan, and you could agree or disagree, and I know certain Jets fans will agree, and some are going to be, I don't know. He's still going to come here regardless. Listen, if Joe Douglas doesn't put a decent offensive line around Trevor Lawrence, right, and doesn't get him the offensive weapons Trevor Lawrence needs to succeed in the NFL, I'm sorry, from Trevor Lawrence, I pulled the Eli card here, and I simply say, I don't want to come to the Jets. I want to be traded. That's simply what I'm going to do. Because it would be dumb. It would be dumb of Trevor Lawrence to stay another year at Clemson, and in the event that he gets hurt in college and could never play in the NFL, because anything can happen with an injury. Look at Joe Burrow as the prime example. There's a team that drafts the highest valued quarterback in the draft and put nothing around him, nothing to protect him. And where's Joe Burrow now? On somebody's operating table, getting his knee reconstructed. Sorry, Jets fans, but if he does decide to come here and Joe Douglas puts nothing around him, expect the same result. Just expect it. It's going to happen. Even look on the other side of MetLife with the Giants. You have Daniel Jones, who you draft Andrew Thomas, who can't protect anything. And then I hear certain Giants fans, oh, Daniel Jones sucks, they got to do away with him at the end of the year. No, if you had an offensive line to protect him a little bit better, you actually could see what Daniel Jones would do. And again, you don't knock the pick of Daniel Jones. My knock on it is where Gettleman drafted him. Because Jones was not a first round 6th pick. no, he's not. He's a second, third round, or even fourth round. He would have been there later in the draft. For those who say he wouldn't have been, listen, he would have been there. Because even Drew Lock got drafted in the second round, and Drew Lock is better than Daniel Jones. Um, you know, but again, Jets fans, and again, simple question: either yes or no. Do you want the win? Do you want him to run the table and win 3, 4, 5 games, and you just get a crappy draft pick, or do you want the number one draft pick to start rebuilding? Because listen, at the end of the year, Gase has got to go. Gase has got to go. You got to cut the you got to cut the ties that bind with all the negative influences in your locker room. Okay, and even with that, who is this guy? Right? I was listening to Craig Carton and Evan Roberts the other day, and who is this guy that's like stalking the GM's son, like texting him like, "Hey, your son's eating Haagen-Dazs or whatever was going on with that friggin' Minesh Mineta guy who's like the beat reporter for the Jets." Apparently, he sends this guy in to do the questions for him or whatever it is. Weird situation on that one. I really didn't read much into it. After hearing the fact he's pretty much stalking the GM's son, I lost interest. That's just sick and twisted in my mind. The guy honestly should be brought in the backyard and all yelled, if you ask me. But speaking of Joe Douglas, though, this is where Joe Douglas has to take accountability. Okay, if you're not going to fire Adam Gase now, it's not going to happen until the end of the year. So Joe Douglas has got to take accountability for the horrible coaching choice. Because again, Adam Gase is not an offensive guru. Because if he was, he would have known how to utilize Le'Veon Bell. He would have managed to help Joe Douglas build a better offensive line, and you wouldn't be 0-10 right now. You would probably be even at this point, or at least 7-5, 6-4, maybe. Who knows? But again, for Jets fans that think Trevor's coming here and Trevor is the end all be all and he's gonna be the savior of the Jets, it's more than just getting Trevor Lawrence. You have to have a perfect draft, and you have to draft everything you need. You have to go and spend. What do you got, like 40, 50 million in payroll coming off the books this year that you're gonna have to spend on defensive weapons in free agency and offensive weapons. Joe Douglas literally has to have the perfect offseason to build this team to get it right now. Because again, you have to find the right coach. And I'm sorry, if you really want Trevor here, the key to getting Trevor is getting Dabo Swinney to leave Clemson. But again, even in doing that, the Jets have to put the weapons around the next franchise quarterback. And Sam Darnold gets the knock of, oh, well, he's a shitty quarterback, and look what he's done in 3 years. Well, look at what's been put around him for 3 years. Look at that. Look at that. And you could attribute it to injuries and whatnot, but you know what? I attribute it to the horrible coaching of Adam Gase and his ability to misuse weapons that he's had. I'm not knocking the whole Jet team here, because you got Denzel Mims, who looks pretty promising. As long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be a viable weapon for you. I'm sorry, Perriman, you got to get somebody better there. Frank Gore is not the answer at running back. The guy is older than me at this point. Hey, listen, if you're going to sign running backs at 38 years old, listen, I'll freaking play for you. But again, you got to have a perfect offseason here. And if you're a Jet fan, you got to expect them to go. You got to go full throttle here. You got to get everything that's on the table. In the draft, you have to draft right. You have to draft for every position, and you got to draft who you want. Just don't go drafting somebody because they're sitting there, but it's not a need that you need at that pick. Okay. Again, that's what it's going to take to keep Trevor Lawrence from wanting to get traded when he gets drafted by the Jets. But then going back to the NFL as a collective here with the whole COVID thing. I don't know. Listen, I don't know what the Broncos fine is going to be for their little COVID thing here, and I don't understand why Drew Lock and Blake Bortles, who I didn't even realize is on the Broncos now. I don't get why these guys and Mark Riffin's nephew, I always forget his first name. I think it's like Brian Riffin or whatever. Why these three are standing around a quarterback who has it, or they didn't know they had it, but you're not wearing a mask. So expect a fine there. It being since that it's Denver's first offense, it'll probably be the 300,000. Um, but if Goodell sits there and goes, you know what, I've had enough of this, and finally decides to grow a pair of balls, um, then expect the same fine the Saints just got. Because I think the reason why they got that fine is I think Peyton was one of the many habitual violators of it in the first few weeks. So that's why I think the Saints got the punishment they got. But again, how are you not fining or punishing the Ravens yet? They got 20 something guys on it now. 20 something guys. From Lamar to Ingram and down the line. And there's no punishment here. It's asinine to think that Goodell could sit there and you want to punish a team for actions last week and you're doing it out a week later. So when's the Ravens punishment going to come out? 3 years from now? Come on. And then again, for these fans of teams that hate the Steelers and you want to speak ill of a guy who's got COVID, who is a cancer survivor, listen. For those who know me, you know this is going to get real brutal, and there's going to be a lot of obscenities right now. So if you listen to this with your kids in the room, or watch this with your kids in the room, I'd either earmuff it, or I tell them to go in the other room, because you are literally the biggest fucking piece of shit on God's green earth that your mother should have swallowed, or your father should have shot in the toilet, because you shouldn't have even been born. And those who sit there and they want to play Twitter doctor, oh, well, his immune system isn't compromised. He has a weaker immune system because he had cancer, you fuckstick. Really? Really? And not only that, people want to shit on Connor for catching it. And Connor, knowing his previous health record, right? As far as being a leukemia cancer survivor, being cancer free for 4 years, and we know Connor's strong and all that, right? This guy should get more credit than anybody right now. Because knowing he could catch it, he chose a team over himself and his own health to play the game he loves, to entertain all of us. And then you're going to be a fan that shits on it and shits on him and speaks ill of it. I'm sorry, again, your mother should have swallowed you. Dad should have shot you in the toilet or in a tissue. Sorry. Truth hurts, don't it? You know. But again, the NFL, again, like I said earlier, does not have a handle on this. And listen, they're just winging it. They're just winging it, and they just want to show their authority when they feel it's best. When everybody starts, shitting on the NFL and the players are coming out on Twitter saying, oh well, when are you going to punish this guy? When are you going to punish this team? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? That's when they feel they have to come out and do something to save face. Okay, let's not sit there and think that, listen, wherever Goodell's hiding, come out of hiding. Show yourself on TV somewhere, and say, listen, I'm aware of what's going on in Baltimore. I'm aware of the strength and conditioning coach acting reckless. He's been fired. Harbaugh's been fined $500,000. The team's been fined $2.5 million to $3 million, and I'm taking multiple draft picks away. You really want to show you're the authority figure? Drive the fucking point home. That's it. There's consequences to your actions, whether it's in the world of professional sports or as a regular Joe who works 9 to 5. Okay? There's always a consequence to your actions, whether they're negative or they're positive. And in this case, the Ravens, it's a negative. Think about it this way. What would have happened now if, let's say, this game don't get played Tuesday, and Roger Goodell comes out and says, well, we're going to suspend the season till we get this under control, so we're going to take a month off. Okay. I, for one, would be pissed. But I would understand it. But now here's the thing. That's not the punishment. The punishment isn't, let's just suspend the season. And let's get into that. What if they do suspend the season and let's say we're not going to finish the season out? What happens then? What happens then? Or are we just going to cancel the rest of the season? Let's just go right into the playoffs? Because in which case, in Baltimore, will make the playoffs anyway. And then you're going to have Ravens fans complain, well, that's not fair. You know what? I don't give a shit. Okay? The bottom line is this. If this was the Ravens versus any other team, this game's getting played. The reason why it's not getting played is because it's the Steelers. Let's just be honest, okay? And you can sit there and say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Listen, no, it's not a matter of that. Because all year, everybody from the off-season to what would have been training camp to what would have been preseason to here and now, this very moment, all the media, sports writers, and haters have done nothing but shit all over this team. From Chris Sims to whoever does the PFF rankings to ESPN rankings to Fox Sports rankings to whatever. You just don't want to give anybody their just due on this team. And not only that, to sit there and say that Brian Flores, who is the only successful one out of Belichick's coaching tree right now, because as you saw, Detroit finally, and I'm going to get into that one in a minute actually, so we'll hold off on that. All these analysts from Troy Aikman on, oh, let's just give Flores the coach of the year now. Well, because Miami won 3-4 games. That's who we're giving it to, not the guy who's had an undefeated season, who's faced all the hatred from the media and being discredited. We don't give it to him, but we're going to give it to Brian Flores. Okay. All right. Now let's get into this one. So Detroit finally, after 3 years, decides to get rid of Matt Patricia, right? Which leads me to ask, Jim Caldwell had a better winning record in Detroit. And the owner came out and said, well, we got rid of Caldwell because he didn't bring us deep into the playoffs. Like, were you in the playoffs with Matt Patricia? No. And then the same owner who said what she said about Caldwell in that termination says, well, I had to do what was best for the organization. You did that 2 years too late, sweetheart. I hate to tell you. Because Matt Patricia has like a negative .500 win percentage. He's a fucking joke. If you saw that Thanksgiving game, you could just tell he coached with no common sense at all. It was almost as bad as the kids from Syracuse who spiked the ball on fourth down when they needed a touchdown yesterday. It's utterly pathetic. And here's another thing that annoys me. All right, so I don't know who does these college rankings. Alabama's played 2 less games than Notre Dame, right? So for all you Notre Dame Fighting Irish fans out there like myself, we played Clemson, right? And yeah, it was without Trevor Lawrence. But still, we beat the number 1 team in all of the NCAA. Wouldn't you think that team would be ranked number 1? But no, let's give it to Nick Saban and Roll Tide. No, let's give it to them. So again, I don't know who does these fucking rankings. Honestly, if you beat a number 1 team and you're the 4th ranked team, you don't jump up 2 spots. You jump up 3 to number 1. Clear as day. Notre Dame, another team that doesn't get credit where credit's due. But whatever on that note. The more present issue here is COVID and the Ravens and the NFL's mishandling of it. I get you got to move a game, but you know what though? If you're going to come out again and say that the Broncos have to adapt to the situation, then so does every other team. And I'd be saying the same thing if Roethlisberger, Dobbs, and Rudolph, and Duck Hodges, and whoever else was a backup quarterback on the Steelers were to get it, and we were going into a game with no quarterback. I'd be saying the same thing. We don't have to move the game. You're just going to have to adapt to it. That's what it is. And I'm sorry, NFL, but you haven't got it right. And this all would have been limited, okay? And you could agree or disagree with this. MLB, NHL, and the NBA got it correct. And yeah, in the MLB there was that little outbreak with the Marlins and then I think with the Phillies and the Cardinals, right? Which was going to be expected, but it was contained. It was controlled. You had limited travel, okay? And then in the playoffs, they were a neutral site. The NFL should have mirrored just that. For 1 year, that's all you had to do. But no, you wanted to give the world Seattle versus New England and have have Seattle travel all the way to New England and then have this team travel all the way from the east to the west. And again, I don't want to hear about private planes and private hotels because that doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean shit. When you have coaches within the Ravens organization breaking protocol. So all that private plane shit don't matter to me, and neither does private hotel. It just doesn't So again, if you listen to the podcast, you know where this is. You already know my feelings on this, and you already know how I feel this punishment should be handled. When it gets handled, who knows? Does this game get played Tuesday? At this point, I can't tell you anymore. I really can't, because we could find out after the 1 o'clock games that five more Ravens play. It's not only just the Ravens players; it's the Ravens coaching staff. Now listen, you could sit there if you listen to the podcast where I laughed at Lamar getting COVID. It was in the heat of the moment. I actually had a Ravens fan message me about it, and listen, I honestly don't give two shits what you think. Okay, as I told him in the message, I said I don't care what you think. You could take offense to me laughing about it, but it was in the heat of the moment. But here's the difference. Let me know when Lamar Jackson survives leukemia cancer. Because if he was in the same boat as Connor, I wouldn't have laughed about it. Connor's is a much more severe situation, even though it's come out that he's asymptomatic and they're waiting for his second test results, which I haven't seen yet. Hopefully they're negative, but still, he can't play Tuesday anyway. And honestly, if I'm the Steel organization, I don't even risk it with him. Even if he wants to risk it himself, I'm sorry. If I'm Tomlin, I have that man-to-man, like father to son conversation. I tell him, listen, your health is bigger than just the game, and I can't have you out there in this situation. Um, at the end of the day, and I've said in the podcast, I'll say here, these guys are more than athletes. They're human beings, and a lot of you don't see past that. Um, if this COVID-19 pandemic hasn't waken you up a bit in your thought process into that, then you're just a heartless piece of shit. And you can say, well, you laughed at Lamar Jackson. Listen, I laughed at the situation. I don't want to see anybody, even if it's a team I hate. I don't want to see it. And you hope that they all have speedy recoveries and no side effects. And you've seen some of these guys in other sports have side effects to it. Um, but you don't want to see it. Um, you know, you wouldn't wish this on anybody. Well, I could think of two people I wish it on in personal situations. But we don't need to talk about that here. That's not what this video or my podcast are about. It's about strictly sports, no politics, no bullshit. Okay? Um, for those who do watch it, you already know who the two people are. But I'm going to go back to it. NFL has mishandled this the way Adam Gase has misused Le'Veon Bell. The NFL has misused their players far worse. Um, they pretty much whipped up this protocol, made it look good. Put some sprinkles on it, put a nice little whipped cream on it with some caramel drizzle, and they made it look appetizing, right? So the players say, yeah, it's good, we'll agree to it. And now look, I'm sorry, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm calling Roger Goodell, and I'm saying, Roger, what's the deal here, bro? What's the deal? You know, when's the Raven punishment going to come out? Because if this was us, the punishments would have been out 6 weeks ago before this would have even happened. You already would have had the punishments handled. Um, are we playing Tuesday? Are we not playing Tuesday? As of right now, all the reports say this game's going on Tuesday. But then again, who knows? And hopefully by then, Tua clears protocol and he could play, and Hawkins and Isaiah Buggs are all cleared by then, and we just go into this game without Connor. And listen, you move this game to Tuesday, and Lamar's still not going to play. He's already out for the game. So why did we fucking move it? Come on. And even if you make a week 18, and the supposed thing is, it's not supposed, it's apparently agreed upon within the protocol in this temporary CBA or whatever it is, that if there is a week 18, then the number one seeds get a bye week. I have to ask this. Why should number one seeded teams, not just the Steelers, be punished for another team's reckless behavior? Again, simple question. Simple answer to it. We all want to know. Why should everybody else be punished? Because the Titans decided they wanted to be reckless, and the Raiders decided to be reckless, and now the Ravens. I'm sorry, if I'm Goodell, I should have been out there. I should have been out there. I should have been on a podium days ago saying we know what's going on in Baltimore, and listen, regardless of whoever's on the list next, This is the punishment now. And it should have been handled. It should be handled a week from now because now, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you're about 7 days late on this jerk off. You're about 7 days late on the punishment. You know, listen, when I was a kid and got in trouble, you know, my parents didn't wait 7 days to punish me. I got punished right on the spot. So why aren't the Ravens getting punished on the spot? Why are the Ravens getting rewarded for being reckless? Again, all fair questions. All fair questions. And for those who want to comment and say, oh, because you're a Steeler fan and you know, if this was your team, you would listen. No. Again, if you listen to the podcast, I said even with my own team, I have to be unbiased. I can't just sit there and make my team out to be the perfect role model while everyone else is screwing up. Okay? If this was the Steelers, I'd be the same exact way. I would expect a punishment. I would expect a stern and swift one. Okay? And if you think I don't, think again. Because when you do these podcasts and you do videos, you have to be neutral to a lot of things. And you have to be unbiased. So if you want it for one, you have to have it for you want it for all. Then, and it's just plain and simple as that. And again, I don't think any of these punishments were stern enough. 300,000, I'm sorry, was not stern enough. I think honestly that should have been the tone setter right there. But you pretty much said, oh, $300,000 slap on the wrist. So the Raiders said, okay, you know what? Well, we could fuck around, and you know, so it's just gonna be whatever. And listen, on the Raiders side of things, if you don't think they're getting that 6th-round draft pick back, they'll find a way to get it back. But whether it's do an in-day trade in the draft or something in the offseason, they're gonna get it back one way or the other. And I'm sorry. And a few days ago, when people were like, oh well, the Ravens should be fine to take it in multiple draft picks. At first, I was like, yeah, you know what? No. The fine and one draft pick's fine. But this is getting worse on the daily now. This punishment's got to be far worse. It's got to be severe at this point. If Roger Goodell wants to show the NFL fan base, who already hates you, Goodell, and can't stand the sight of you, if you want to show them, if you want to prove them wrong, that you actually care and that you are the authority figure you claim to be, instead of sitting in your basement reading how to commission the NFL for Dummies book and flipping through the pages there, come out on TV and say you're losing 4th, 5th, 6th-round draft picks, or if you want to be more authoritative, you're losing your 1st, 3rd, and 5th-round draft picks, and you're getting fined $3 million. That'll really be the tone setter there for these other teams to wake up and be like, you know what, Goodell's not fucking around now, so let's adhere to the protocol, to the letter of the law, because the Steelers are doing it, the Giants are doing it, the Jets are doing it, the Bills are doing it, the Cowboys, I'm sure, are doing it, the Dolphins, I'm sure, are doing it, and so on and so forth. And you know what's funny is that if the season were to get canceled or games were to be suspended, all these haters are going to come out and say, oh, it's the Steelers' fault. We're the ones getting shafted every time somebody violates it. It happens to be when we have to play them. So that we're getting the short end of the stick. And the case example is this. It's not only are they getting rewarded right now but not getting a punishment, not only did they get rewarded by moving this game not once but twice, they get another game moved. They get the Cowboy-Raven game moved to next Monday. Which goes to show you could fuck up in the NFL and get rewarded. Case in point, Antonio Brown going through sexual misconduct and all these other things going on in his personal life, and he's allowed to play in the NFL right now. What a joke. What a joke. Really, you know what? The NFL has become a joke, and everyone within it's the punchline. Really has. And I'm sorry, but if you don't agree with it and don't see it, then what NFL are you watching? I'm not saying I'm not gonna be like these, these little puss bags on Facebook who want to comment on every NFL page. I'm boycotting the NFL because I'll never boycott the NFL. Listen, I'm never gonna stop watching football, but I'm gonna call out what I see as bluntly as I can, as brutally honest as possible. If you don't like the way I say it, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. I'm not a baker and I don't work in a bakery. All right, I'm not sugarcoating nothing. I don't sugarcoat nothing for nobody. I tell it as real as it gets. If you don't like it, feel free to say something. But don't be surprised when you get a real response. So, as far as I'm concerned, Roger Goodell, you've let down not only the NFL as a whole, you've shown the players you don't care. They're still going to play the game that they love. Don't get me wrong. But you do not have their best interests in mind here. You haven't. And neither has the head of the players' union either. Or the Players Association for that matter. Because where are they when these punishments come out? You don't hear them getting together and saying, well, this is what the punishment should be. And not only that, for Ravens fans clamoring that the Steelers want to forfeit in this game, no. I'm a Steelers fan that doesn't want to see it. I've seen others say, well, they should have to forfeit the game if this doesn't get played Tuesday. Listen, the NFL is not going down that road unless it's the absolute last result. Okay? I, for one, don't want to see a forfeit in any game. I'd rather see the game get played. But if you're telling the Broncos that they have to adapt to the situation that they put themselves in, then Baltimore has to as well. And that is the oxymoron that's within the NFL. So some don't have to adapt, but the Broncos do. Okay. All right. With that being said, I gotta go get ready for the 1:00 games. Podcasts are up on Spotify, all major platforms. Again, I know I used to do videos daily, but doing the podcast and everything, I'm not doing a podcast and a video after it. So the videos will be maybe 2-3 times a week, with the podcast being more. But other than that, everybody enjoy your football Sunday. As always, stay safe, mask up, peace.